Hi there. So this week we're going to continue talking about what does it take to put a vision into practice. Things that I learned through the process of writing a book and that apply to lots of other areas in life. So what I want to talk about today is this concept of evaluate and adjust. Sometimes along the way we need a course correction. One of my biggest downfalls is I get a plan in my head and I know where I want to go, and then something changes and I get stuck. It's like, what am I going to do now? This wasn't on my plan. This wasn't on my agenda. In the process of writing a book, you can only imagine that happened a lot of times. In fact, when I first started writing a book, I planned to self-publish. And then when I was getting very close to the end, a friend introduced me to the publishing company I worked with, and out of nowhere, the whole scope of the project changed, and it introduced all these elements that I hadn't thought of before. And at first that felt very overwhelming, but I realized this was God. God was taking my plans and changing them, and I had to evaluate and adjust. I had to evaluate, what is God doing? What's the new direction? And how do I adjust the plan that's in my head or the plan that I have on paper to fit the circumstances and the situation right now? Just like you and I, Nehemiah in the Bible, when he was going through this project to rebuild Jerusalem, he had to evaluate and adjust too. We talked a few times about these enemies that he had, and they continue to intensify as the process goes on. So when you get to the middle of chapter 4, they actually come to the point that say, we're going to come behind you when you don't expect it and we're going to kill you. So the whole project has taken on a new level of seriousness. And Nehemiah could have shut down. He could have said, that wasn't in our plan. That's not how things are supposed to work. What am I going to do now? But instead, when they heard about the enemy's plan, they adjusted their plan. And so they had men who would guard and men who would work. In fact, even the men who were working had a sword with them at all times. Even when they went to drink water, the Bible says, they took their weapons with them. See, they could have just given up. They could have put the project on hold, but instead they looked at, how do we create a plan that's right for the situation that's in front of us today? So, what's your vision right now? Are you holding on to a plan from way back a couple years ago or even a couple months ago that says it has to go this way, it has to happen in this timing? Or are you letting God shape your vision today, listening to Him, looking at what's in front of you, and having the mind to evaluate and adjust based off of good and bad things that come your way? Because the truth of the matter is we can't predict the future. We don't know. So we have to start moving the direction that God has for us. But when we find out new things, we have to be willing to change paths, course correct, and just keep going and not give up. So I believe whatever's happening in your life today is not a surprise to God. He has put those specific things in place for you. So what are you going to do with them? Are you going to stay back here? Are you going to shut down? Are you going to figure out, how do I keep taking steps forward into this vision God has for me?